The Baal HaGadah tells us a very strange thing. In Dayenu, in the Karvonu Fnei Har Sinai, if the Rebbeinu Shalom would have brought us close to Har Sinai, v'lernosnas Torah, and he wouldn't give us the Torah Dayenu, that would have been enough. Enough? The whole purpose of coming to Har Sinai is to get the Torah. How would it have been enough? Walking away from Har Sinai without the Torah, that's enough? What does that mean? And further, we find in the Sheish Sechiras, the 6 mitzvahs Tamidis that we need to remember every day, one of them is to remember Maimed Har Sinai. But if we look closely at the Psukim, it's not talking about getting the Torah per se, but we should remember the Maimed. We should remember what our eyes saw. It should never leave our hearts. The Iker is the Torah. It's the place we receive the Torah. Why the focus on the Maimed, on the experience, the event itself? Says the Ramban that this mitzvah to remember the Maimed is independent of the Torah itself. Meaning what? Avada, certainly that's where the Torah came from. But to remember the Maimed, the experience, in and of itself, the fire coming down from Shemayim, the shofar blowing, the absolute splendor that Rebbeinu Shalom opened up the heavens to us. To remember the event, the experience, that's a mitzvah b'fnei atzmo. Why? Says the Ramban, for 2 reasons. First of all, we need to be clear what the origin of the Torah is. That event was where the Torah came from. It wasn't just there was an event and we have Torah now, but the event and the Torah are intricately intertwined. And secondly, because it was such a miraculous event, even Chas v'Sholom, if a Navi would come by later on, a Navi Sheker, and bring oises and moifsim, bring signs and wonders to deny Chas v'Sholom, that which Moshe Rabbeinu told us, this goes beyond Moshe Rabbeinu. This goes back to the source, the Rebbeinu Shalom himself. There's no way to get around it. Says the Ramban, this is something we need to drill into ourselves and to give over to our children. It's a mitzvah l'doros forever. What can we compare this to? If we look at Rosh Hashanah, we have a mitzvah shofar. What's mitzvah shofar? To coronate the king, to make the Rebbeinu Shalom Melech. It's the focal point of the whole Rosh Hashanah. The Malchi shofar, the shofar, the Chronis. The focal point is the shofar. That's the mitzvah. What's different about the mitzvah of shofar? And every day we have a mitzvah of Shema. Pa'amayim b'chol yom tomid. Every single day, twice a day, we say Shema. We're mekabel malchus shemayim. How is it different? How is it different, this mitzvah of shofar? The pshat is that shofar is the experience of malchus shemayim, and it becomes the fountain upon which we draw the entire year. Every time we're mekabel malchus shemayim, there's some of that shofar in our Kabbalah. Likewise, we see it by Pesach. We have a mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. A Sipur Mitzrayim, we have a mitzvah every single day of Zechiras Mitzrayim. Every single day we remember the Exodus from Egypt. How's it different to tell it over? The difference is when we tell it over the Haggadah, Mitzvah Seder, Eden Korban Pesach Be'ez Hashem, the Matzah, the Murr, it's an experience. And that experience penetrates us so that the entire year, when we draw upon it for Yezichir's Mitzrayim, we draw upon it for the remembering Yezichir's Mitzrayim. It's not just the remembering, but it's drawing upon the Sipur, it's drawing upon the experience itself. What about Shavuos? Shavuos is the anniversary. Shavuos is the day that Baruch Hashem gave his Torah. How do we re-experience this on Shavuos that we can draw upon this the entire year? We could say that a couple who's been married for many years, for the anniversary, they have a special minhag, they have a special custom. They sit down with their wedding album, and they go through the wedding album, and they see what they were at their chasana, and they see what the family was and their friends, and in this way, they rekindle and rejuvenate the relationship. A beautiful thing to do. But Maimed Har Sinai, staying up all night in Shavuos is even more than that. It's not just remembering what happened, it's experiencing again. And when we stay up all night, we're meiser nefesh. It's very difficult to stay up all night and to steig and to learn and to push ourselves. It's re-experiencing that Maimed itself so that this moment of Shavuos can be that fountain we can draw upon, just like Shofar Malchus Shemayim, and just like the Pesach Seder for Zechiras Mitzrayim, we can draw upon this moment of Shavuos, that it can invigorate us for the entire year. That in this way, to our degree possible, we Mekayim the Ramban, that Maimed should never leave us. It's not just the Torah, but the Maimed itself should be with us. That we should always feel that closest to Rebbeinu Shalom. That closest is when he gave the Torah itself.